I was in the hospital following a warehouse collapse, and my girlfriend never sent a single text. When I called her, she said, "I'm busy with a real man, not some broken-down loser." Her brother took the phone and added, "Hope you're dead. That saves us the trouble." I hung up and smirked. They had no idea what was coming. An hour after that call, she posted a selfie with some tattooed guy, captioned upgraded. 6 weeks later, I signed myself out and began putting my revenge plan into action. Today, she showed up at my door, crying and screaming, begging me to talk. To begin, something felt off to me. It wasn't some tragic realization, just a small thing that felt strange. I remember waking up in the hospital. The nurse handed me my phone and remarked, "Your girl hasn't left a message, huh?" I shrugged it off at first, thinking she was just busy or my phone was acting up. After all, I had been unconscious for 2 days, so I tried not to overthink it. My mom was there for what it's worth, but she couldn't stay long since she lived out of town. She checked in more than my girlfriend did, which was baffling. I was in the hospital for about 6 weeks, and it wasn't pretty. I had a broken leg, an arm in a sling, and my face was all cut up. To be honest, I was mostly bored. My phone was buzzing with get-well-soon texts from almost everyone, even people I hadn't spoken to in months, except for her. Not a single word from Sherry, not even that silly bitmoji she sent when she was mad at me. In the first few days, I thought maybe she was dealing with her own issues, or was mad that I hadn't texted first. She's always been like that, claiming I make her feel invisible when I don't check in, even if I'm busy. But then, a week passed with no communication, and I started feeling a pit in my stomach. Not fear, just annoyance. We had lived together for almost 2 years. We even shared a bathroom. I tried calling her, but it rang once and went to voicemail, then it said, "User unavailable." The next day, I messaged her on 3 different apps, but nothing came back. I reached out to her brother Ralph, whom I always thought was a jerk, with a simple, "Hey man, have you seen Sherry? Can you ask her to check her messages?" He left me on read, classic. When my mom came by to drop off groceries, hospital food was terrible after week 3. I asked her if she'd heard from Sherry. She gave me a hesitant look, like she didn't want to discuss it, then said maybe Sherry was just overwhelmed. That made me even more annoyed because it felt like everyone was in on a joke I wasn't part of. It was days later when I finally managed to get her on the phone. I don't even remember dialing. I was just sitting in that ugly hospital gown, staring at the ceiling, desperate to hear her voice so I could yell at her. When she picked up, I barely managed to say, "Where the hell have you been?" before she launched into a rant. She wasn't even angry, just bored, as if she'd been waiting for this moment. She said, "I have better things to do than babysit some broken-down loser. I'm busy with a real man now, so maybe you should stop calling." Before I could respond, Ralph grabbed the phone and said, "Hope you're dead. That saves us the trouble." The call ended, and I just stared at the wall for a moment. I couldn't help but laugh, which probably startled the nurse walking by my door. That kind of disrespect flips a switch in your mind. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. I knew Sherry could be selfish, but I didn't expect her to turn into this cartoon villain overnight. I shouldn't have been surprised, though. She always wanted things to be fast and new. She complained about being stuck with me whenever anything got tough. Ralph always disliked me, probably because I never let him borrow money or crash at our place when he was fighting with his girlfriend. He was the type who constantly posted gym selfies and crypto memes. About an hour after that call, I was scrolling through stories out of boredom when I saw Sherry post after post about some new year, new me nonsense. Then bam! There she was in a club with a guy I'd never seen before, covered in tattoos and sporting a smug look. The caption simply read, "Upgraded." I get it, people move on, but there's no need to rub it in. What stung the most wasn't the breakup. It was how she acted like I never existed, as if I were just some mistake she was finally free from. Ralph's comments only made it clearer that this was a planned thing. It probably had been going on for months. I messaged a couple of our mutual friends to see if they had heard anything. Most shrugged it off, but a few admitted she had been acting differently, getting more into the party scene, and hanging with that guy from the gym. Of course, nobody wanted to get involved, which I understood, but it still hurt. So, I stopped caring about her for a while. I focused on getting through physical therapy, learning to walk without a limp, and getting my life together. With all that time to think, I became angrier. I replayed that call in my head countless times, thinking, how did I not see this coming? I recalled all the moments I let her walk all over me, covering for her with our landlord and fixing the budget when she spent too much on makeup. Ralph's snide remarks about how she could do better and how I was dead weight echoed in my mind. I ignored it all before, not wanting to rock the boat, but now I didn't care about the boat. I wanted it to sink. The nurses said I was making progress, so after 6 weeks, I signed myself out. I could barely lift my backpack, but I didn't care. I just wanted out. When I got home, I found half my things missing. The TV was gone, the kitchen was a mess, and all her belongings were cleared out except for a couple of broken mugs. She left a note taped to the fridge with a stupid smiley face. Nothing else. I sat on the couch for a while, scrolling through her social media, watching her pretend I never existed, showing off her new guy and tagging Ralph in silly comments. I saw she had blocked me on everything except one old account she had forgotten about. That's when I began thinking about what I could do, not just for revenge, but to ensure she never forgot me. I didn't want to just move on. I wanted her to feel what it was like to have everything pulled out from under her, to watch people turn away, to understand that she couldn't fix it with a selfie or a cheap line. I know that sounds petty, but after everything I'd gone through, I felt I deserved it. I started making lists on my phone. Things I could do, people I could talk to, ways to make her regret every second of that phone call. I wasn't going to break the law, but I wasn't going to let her off easy either. I didn't tell everyone what happened. I kept it close, figuring out where she was living, who she was hanging out with, and what she was posting. I remembered all her little secrets, the things she wanted to keep hidden. I knew where she worked out, who she owed money to, and what scared her. I started paying attention again, not like a creep, just waiting for the right moment. Then, today, I heard a knock at my door. I looked through the peephole, and there she was, Sherry, puffy-eyed and with a messy hairdo, practically banging on the door and screaming for me to let her in. I could hear her crying, begging about something after her, saying she made a mistake. I just stood there listening, but I didn't open the door. And that's where I'm at. I've got my list, I've got time, and I'm not finished, not even close. Update 1. Picking up from last time. If you read part 1, you know I was sitting there with Sherry, just losing it on my door, screaming and crying like we were in some awful TV show. I didn't open it. I just watched her through the peephole for a while. She was wearing the same hoodie she used to steal from me, which honestly made it a little funny. I waited until she finally gave up and left, which took longer than expected. It was like watching someone try to negotiate with a brick wall. The thing is, I didn't just go back to bed afterward. I couldn't. I sat in the kitchen with my phone, scrolling, thinking I wasn't feeling sorry for myself anymore. I wanted her to feel it for real, the way she made me feel, like I was nothing, just some guy tossed aside when things got tough. I don't know if that makes me sound bitter, but if you've been there, you understand. I wasn't about to walk away and hope karma did something. I wanted to make it happen myself. The first odd thing was that she didn't just disappear after that. I figured she'd move in with her new guy and forget all about me, but no. I started getting strange texts from unknown numbers, mostly asking, "Is Sherry there?" Or, "Do you know where Sherry is?" It was bizarre since she's not exactly elusive. Then her friend Kay, who I never really liked, began blowing up my DMs, asking if I had heard from Sherry, saying she wasn't answering anyone. Not, "Are you okay?" Just, "Where's Sherry?" As if I was her keeper. So I started watching her social media, the accounts I could still see. She was posting less, not tagging the tattoo guy anymore, and no more upgraded stories, just random memes about how people are fake. Classic Sherry. I began to wonder if her little upgrade hadn't worked out. I talked to one mutual friend who said, "Yeah, she's couch surfing. Stuff's weird." Honestly, I enjoyed hearing that. Meanwhile, I was working on my plan, not something simple like unfollowing or blocking her. That's what she'd expect. I wanted her to feel it in her wallet, in her social life, everywhere. The first thing I did was reach out to our old landlord. Sherry's name was still on the lease because she never bothered to take it off. I messaged the landlord, letting her know I had moved out and that Sherry had trashed the place on her way out. No lies, just facts. The kitchen was a mess, a cabinet door was ripped off, and a window was cracked. I sent photos I had taken when I moved my stuff out. The landlord was furious. She said, "Well, Sherry's deposit is gone, and she's responsible for repairs. Given her credit, good luck getting a new place." I didn't even have to push. Just a couple of emails and some receipts did the trick. Next, I remembered Sherry owed money to about 3 different people. She always borrowed and never paid back, mostly small amounts, but they add up. I DM'd one of them, Gail, saying, "Hey, you should probably ask Sherry about your money. She's not living with me anymore. Gail is the type who doesn't let things go. Within 2 days, I heard from another mutual that Gail had been blowing up all of Sherry's social media, even posting on her Instagram, asking for her cash. It was awkward, but I honestly didn't care. While all this was happening, I received a snap from Ralph. Not a call or text, just a snap like we were in high school. It was just him at the gym flexing with the caption, "You're still a loser." I left him on read. I wasn't about to argue with a guy who thought bicep curls defined his personality. Then my neighbor Bruce, not the tattoo guy but an older dude who keeps to himself, came by and said, "Hey, some girl's been hanging around your door. Looks like she's waiting for you." He wasn't judging, just concerned. I told him, "Thanks, I'll handle it." That night, I checked the peephole, and sure enough, Sherry was out there again, sitting on the steps, scrolling her phone and sometimes crying. I didn't open up. About a week passed, and I started getting calls from her mom. Not voice calls, but a long email followed by a couple of texts asking if I could let Sherry stay with me for a bit. She was having a hard time and was sorry for what happened. I didn't even reply. Her mom always took Sherry's side and told me to be the bigger person whenever Sherry messed up. I just muted the thread. This is where things got kind of funny, in a dark way. I heard from a friend in our old group chat that Sherry showed up at a party and tried to talk to the tattoo guy, but he straight up ignored her. Apparently, he was with someone else by then. When she tried to slap him, he just shrugged and walked away. She stormed out and slammed the door, and that was that. People started avoiding her, not just because of me but because she was burning bridges everywhere. I received a few messages from people asking if she was okay, but no one wanted to get involved. Meanwhile, Ralph began posting stories about how loyalty is dead and how people will use you for clout, tagging Sherry in one. It was wild since he was the one who told me to drop dead. I guess their little alliance didn't last long. I knew he was mad because I cut him off from everything he used to mooch off us. He used to come over, eat our food, use our Wi-Fi, and crash on our couch when he needed a break. Not anymore. I started changing all my passwords, securing my accounts, and ensuring she had no access to anything in my name. She tried to log into my old Spotify, and I got the notification. I changed the locks on my place too, just in case. She never had a key, but she's the type to find a way in if you're not careful. The more she tried to get back in, the less I cared. It was like she was finally experiencing what it felt like to be left out in the cold. I saw a post from her on her old Twitter, venting about how everyone she loved betrayed her and how people are fake. One of the replies was from Ralph, telling her to get her act together. I screenshotted it for the memories. Meanwhile, I kept pushing. I ensured the landlord followed through on the repairs, so Sherry was billed for everything. I double-checked my accounts, making sure she had zero access, and sent reminders to the people she owed. I didn't even have to say much, just a quick note saying, "Hey, you might want to check in with Sherry about your money." Gail sent me a thank you text, saying I saved her a trip. The craziest moment was when Sherry's mom showed up at my building. I didn't let her in, I just buzzed her in from the entry. She started yelling about how I was heartless and how I should help Sherry since I once loved her. I told her, love isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. She hung up and called my mom again. My mom silenced her, setting boundaries. Slowly, all the little things added up. Sherry's credit was shot. She couldn't get a new place without a cosigner. Most of her friends were backing away, Ralph was MIA, and the tattoo guy wanted nothing to do with her. She tried to crash with Kay, but Kay's roommate said no. She even tried to get her old job back, but I heard they lost her application. Not my doing, just burnt bridges. There's one moment I'll never forget. I was coming home with groceries, still limping a bit, when I saw Sherry sitting on the stoop. She looked up at me, eyes all red and hair a mess, and just started sobbing, asking why I was doing this to her. I told her, "You did this to yourself." She tried to grab my arm, but I shook her off. She slapped me hard, and I just walked inside and locked the door. She sat out there for another hour before finally leaving. So, yeah, the trap is tightening. She's running out of options, and I'm not letting up. The next step is going to be bigger. Let's see how they handle the real fallout. Stay tuned. Final update. I guess this is the last update, not because everything is perfect, but because there's really nothing left to say, at least for now. After all the chaos, calls, and drama, it's just quiet. And not the peaceful kind of quiet, either. More like the echo after you slam a door and the house still shakes. I'll start with something small that stood out. A couple of days after the last mess with Sherry on the steps, I was rinsing out a mug in the sink and noticed her old hair tie wedged behind the faucet. Just this stretched out purple thing she must have left there months ago. It's silly, but it made me laugh. Even when people are gone, they leave bits of themselves behind, even if you don't want them to. After Sherry slapped me on the stoop and stormed off, things slowed down. She didn't show up for a few days, and I thought maybe she finally got the hint. But then she started again, just quieter, trying to sneak back into my life without making a scene. I'd get random texts at 2 a.m., just her name, a crying emoji, or sometimes nothing at all. I didn't respond. The building manager caught her sleeping in the laundry room one morning. He knocked on my door and asked if she was my guest. I said, "Nope, just an ex who doesn't know when to quit." He said he'd call someone to get her out. I think he felt a bit sorry for her, but not enough to let her stay. People have their own lives. I kept thinking. I gave her everything for years, and when I needed her, she was gone. Now she's got nothing, and it's not my job to pick up the pieces. Meanwhile, Ralph disappeared. I hadn't seen or heard from him since he tried to push his way into my apartment and got shoved back out. He stopped posting online, which is wild because he used to share every workout and motivational quote. I heard from someone that he moved back in with his dad, probably licking his wounds. Ralph always treated me like I was less than him, like he was doing me a favor by letting me be around. I guess when Sherry was up, he could ride her coattails, but now that she's down, he's out. Sherry's mom messaged my mom again, with long paragraphs about how I destroyed her daughter's life and how I should be ashamed. My mom just blocked her and sent me a screenshot with a thumbs up. It was awkward, but I appreciated it. For the first time in a while, it felt like my side of the family really had my back. I heard from Kay for the last time too. She texted me a screenshot of Sherry's story. Sherry sitting alone in some park, hoodie pulled up, just staring at her phone. The caption was simply, "Can't trust anyone." Kay's text read, "Well, you did warn me." I didn't reply. People like Kay always want to be on the winning side, and now she's bored of the drama. The money situation was the final straw for Sherry, I think. Gail got her cash back, or at least most of it, after hounding Sherry through every app she could find. The landlord sent the final bill for the repairs, CC'd Sherry's mom, which I have to admit was cold but effective. Sherry's credit was shot. She couldn't get a new place, old friends were backing away, and now even her family was starting to pull back. I heard through the grapevine that she tried to crash at her cousin's place, but got into a fight, and her cousin's boyfriend told her to leave after she yelled in the kitchen and slammed a cabinet so hard that the handle broke. She's burning every bridge. Meanwhile, I'm still here. I limp a little, stairs are still hard, but I'm getting my life back. I started reconnecting with some old friends. Not the party ones, just genuine friends I lost touch with because Sherry always made me pick sides. They didn't need the full story, they just wanted to hang out, have a beer, or maybe a game night. It felt normal for once. One thing that surprised me was that a couple of her old friends actually apologized. Not for her, just for not seeing what was going on. One even said, "I thought you were the problem for so long, but now I see it wasn't that simple." People don't usually admit that, so I just said, "It's all good, let's move on." A few days ago, Sherry tried one more time. It was raining, and she was outside my building without an umbrella, pounding on the door and screaming my name. Neighbors poked their heads out, and someone yelled at her to shut up. I went down, opened the door just enough so she couldn't push past me, and she started sobbing, saying she had nowhere else to go and that I was the only one who ever really cared. I told her, not anymore. She tried to hug me, but I stepped back. She swung at me and missed, then just stood there shaking. I closed the door, and she kicked it, then walked off into the rain. That was the last time. Honestly, I don't even feel angry anymore. I don't feel much about her at all. She made her choices. She wanted out when things got hard. She wanted to rub it in my face, and when it all blew up, she expected me to fix it. I'm not that guy anymore. Sometimes I still see her name pop up on random apps, or someone mentions she's crashing on so-and-so's couch. Sometimes I hear a song that reminds me of her, or find another one of her old hair ties, and I just toss it in the trash. I know she'll probably keep trying, at least for a while, but she's not my problem. I have enough to deal with: physical therapy, work, just getting through the week without more drama. People say revenge doesn't fix anything, but honestly, I feel better knowing I didn't just let her walk all over me. I didn't break any laws. I didn't go out of my way to ruin her life. I just made sure she couldn't use me anymore. The rest was her own mess. So yeah, that's it. No big ending, no major lesson, just life moving on. If anyone reading this is stuck with someone who treats them like nothing, I hope you find a way to get out. You don't have to save anyone but yourself. Thanks for listening. If anything wild happens after this, I'll update, but for now, I'm done.